Are we still waiting for people, or?
We've got one,
I think this is it,
4,
to my knowledge.
6. We're missing Chris. Oh, yeah, Thiessen's not here.
Okay, and is our delegate on the call ready to go, or? Yep, okay. Well, we'll get started here, and hopefully Chris can join us then. Welcome everybody do I need to do a countdown? Boy, I'm way backwards here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Community Services Committee meeting this morning. On this committee is myself, Councillors Ressley, Councillor Blackburn, and Mayor Clayton. So this first thing on our meeting this morning, we have a delegation from the Art Gallery. So I believe Jeff is here from the Art Gallery to speak to us. If you want to just turn on your camera and mute yourself and take 5 or so minutes to kind of give us an update, and I'm sure we'll have some questions for you.
Yes, hello, good morning. It's nice to see everyone. We are going to do a walkthrough of 2020, which community groups of our stature and partnership with the city will do. So I will share my screen in a second. To kick us off, one of our newest board members in 2020 is Wendy Bosh, Executive Director of Downtown Association. We know Wendy. And so Wendy, as part of our conversation about our successes in 2020, Wendy is going to just briefly describe why she had an interest in joining the gallery and why that's of value for her in the Downtown Association. Wendy, hello.
Morning, how are you? So, my interest in the art gallery is mainly because the Downtown Association is trying to work really hard at inclusion. And inclusion is more than retail and office business. It's also art and culture. That's an important factor in our city. It draws so many people to enjoy a quality of life. So I think, in the past I've worked with Jeff and his team in some ideas and, processing new ideas that we can do in the core. But being on the board allows me to see, how this organization runs. And, it's something that I'm not good at. I can't draw a stick man, never mind organize something that is, hugely valuable to the art and culture scene. So it's a learning experience for me, an appreciation for me, and something that we can draw, out to the public, both to the city citizens and regionally, of course, through tourism as well. But I'm happy to be on this board, and I look forward to, the new and fun things that we can do in the future.
Thank you, Wendy. I will jump into sharing my screen, and we'll very quickly walk through this slide deck, which we did send you in advance, and I hope you can all see it. You'll be familiar with the gallery reporting on our outcomes socially and culturally and economically. We do this every year. The social impacts are actually broad, and there is a list there that you can have a look at, as well as statistics from the Alberta Museum Association about the way Albertans feel, actually, about heritage resources and cultural heritage resources like art museums. An overwhelming majority of people consider it really vital for lifelong learning. We still managed, despite our closure, and I will talk about COVID very specially and specifically in this presentation, how could I not? But I want to also celebrate the things that we actually did accomplish. We are an incredibly adaptive and incredibly resilient organization. 450 people still participated in 184 tours and camps and learning experiences. We did pivot and shift a massive amount of our programming last year we developed what was called an Art at Home project, and 6,000 people actually went online and participated in near 50 different resources and projects online and digitally through our closure. We also developed creativity kits. So creativity kits, you can see some of the kids are working on them. Creativity kits were miniature art projects, and with 30 plus social agencies in our community, everything from mental health associations and those working with vulnerable populations, seniors and youth. They all took dozens and dozens, hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of kits so that people could create art projects in their homes or through these agencies. So that was a way that we were able to actually convert all of our in-house learning experiences into a mobile project. We still logged volunteerism and volunteer hours because we were open for brief periods of time, and the community does love volunteering for the gallery. I can tell you that we're seeing actually more volunteers approach us now than ever before as people are looking for things to do and ways to give back to the community. It's very critical for us to support and exhibit Indigenous culture in our community. We have a high Indigenous population in this region. We still are working with Marjorie Belcourt, who is an Indigenous advisor, both to staff and the board, so that we're approaching all of this material with cultural sensitivity. Our cultural impact, I do like this statistic from a business arts study that was done in 2015, which is that a cultural asset like the gallery attracts and retains talent and investment. We know this to be true. We know that professional people, especially like doctors and lawyers, look for major cultural assets in communities when they decide to move there. And so that plays out in these kinds of stats. We still had several thousand people visit the gallery. We still did a number of exhibitions and worked with a number of artists and writers and photographers. This is an image from the Curve. So the Curve would have been the first thing we opened with, actually about a year ago. In early June of last year, we opened with a responsive art project called the Curve. We received hundreds of submissions, photography, music, painting, sculpture, poetry from the community, which was their thoughts and feelings about the pandemic last year. We were the only museum in the province that did a project like that, and it garnered a lot of provincial attention for our community, actually. We still delivered our traveling exhibition program, though it was difficult because venues were open and closed and open and closed. You know, what's interesting about the traveling exhibition program is the traveling exhibition program doesn't mean delivering art programs outside Grande Prairie. It means delivering art programs outside the four walls of the gallery. So we still deliver a traveling exhibition program to the Grande Prairie Public Library, to high schools in Grande Prairie. So 90% of the people who actually view all of this art material of the 81,000 are actually city residents. So our impact is actually a lot larger than just the on-site visitation to the gallery. Of course, we maintain a major permanent art collection, which is really important. It's an important heritage resource. It's an important cultural archive. Especially, we commissioned 4 new projects specific to the pandemic because we wanted artists to capture this moment in time through art so that for generations to come, there will be a cultural archive of what happened this past year. Economically, we are not an economic driver of this community. No art museum in any community is an economic driver of that community. But we still contribute. We're a positive net contributor. This is not, the word charitable in being a charitable nonprofit does not mean that you invest solely in the social and cultural impacts. That alone would be really great, and you could do that. But we also contribute economically. And so the gross economic output multiplier for art museums is 1.4. That's a provincial statistic from their economic indicators. It's about the same as residential housing construction, actually. And it's because we purchase, as you can see in the columns there, an extraordinary amount of materials. We pay wages, we pay contracts, we pay artist fees, we deal with professional services. We have an extensive amount of insurance, as you can imagine. We work with legal. So the $850,000 between the different levels of government, which is what we would have had through 2020, much of that is reinvested in the community. An Oxford economic study of cultural indicators very recently came to the conclusion that every dollar that's invested in art museums derives $4 of benefits. And those benefits include the social, cultural, and economic ones that I've been talking about. We couldn't talk about 2020 without talking about COVID. We've been closed for about half the year. Art museums and art galleries in Alberta have been closed for the entirety of 2021. We've been closed now since December 13th through this wave. And so there's been a lot of challenge in canceling exhibitions, canceling traveling exhibitions, canceling group tours. I can tell you that nationally, this is true. So, you know, what's happening in Grande Prairie is happening in communities all over the country, which is even when they reopen, there's some feeling intuitively that people would want to get back to normal, but it's not been true. So when we were open last year, our attendance was down 65 to 75%, and that's actually true nationally. People are very, very nervous to participate in things. I talked to some museums nationally who said that even when they were open, their attendance was down 80%. They simply struggled to get people to return. Next week, we have a special presentation on May 17th to Council, and we look forward to seeing you. We are going to talk about how to leverage an art museum for community recovery. And what does that look like? Because we want to be a positive agent as we work through this. So we're excited about that conversation. Through this past year, you've seen some of the statistics. I've talked about how resilient and adaptive we are. We shifted programs online. We shifted our financial focus to project grant writing to try to sustain ourselves through 2021, 2022. We shifted our schedule. We just shifted our temporary art loan program. The city is now a partner in that program, as is the MD of Greenview and the County of Grande Prairie, who are all now exhibiting artwork from our permanent collection. So we've expanded the temporary art loan program that way. It's part of our initiative to put art in all spaces. And we're actually working with administration, who I know Arlen and Stephanie are on this call. They've been extraordinary in helping us to position art at the Montrose Cultural Center. So MCC is open as a vaccination site, and there is art at MCC, despite that we are closed. So, you know, in 2020, we still served 100,000 viewers and participants. We're still one of the largest free admission galleries in Western Canada. We're still a positive contributor in all of the ways that we can be. And I look forward to any questions. I will stop sharing so that everyone can see each other. How's that?
Well, that was great, Jeff. Thanks for coming in. I just want to start and I'll open it up just saying thanks for doing the curve. I think about about quite a year ago, you and I having a tailgate conversation, and I remember very vividly you saying things about I want to unite people, create community, and I want people to have an outlet, and you did it. So thanks for doing that. That's awesome. It's much appreciated. Without any questions for Jeff? You guys are going to let him off that easy?
Well, I will tell you, I've had, you know, context is really important, and so is perspective. And in your world, you're connected to other councillors and other municipalities, and you have a lot of conversations. For 30 seconds, I just want to share one that I had. I recently had 2 conversations with senior levels of administration, both at the province and with a city the size of Grande Prairie. I won't say which one. Both of them said that they were incredibly impressed with the way the gallery was able to adapt and stay connected to community through COVID. The conversation I had with a senior city official in another municipality said that they're incredibly jealous of the way this gallery is responsive versus the others that they know. So this is something for us to really acknowledge, for us to celebrate through 2020. Our partnership with the city, I said to both of those people that our partnership with the city enables us to do this, that we work together. And that principle is really what is helping us to do all of this. So.
Jeff, if nobody else has got any questions, I just want to ask you, you mentioned about volunteer increase and other conversations knowing fundraising's dropped, and so, you know, there's a shortage. Do you think over time, do you think those volunteer numbers will stay up, and is there enough ability there to get some ways to get the funding down? I'm just wondering, you know, longer term, depending on how this all washes out.
Yeah, so that's kind of two questions. And so I'll take the first one first. In volunteerism, it's we're not entirely sure, and we haven't read any data on why there's so many people reaching out to volunteer. It could be COVID induced. It could be cabin fever. It could be a sense of community resilience and wanting to give back. Some combination of all of these things. It will be curious to see when we start working through recovery what that looks like. In 2020, so we're actually coming through what I would characterize financially as a perfect storm. And that perfect storm is this, which is that private sector revenue cratered. Our sponsorship dollars were down 70 to 80%. Earned revenue potential cratered. I mean, you could not sell a ticket or generate money out of community through 2020. It was extraordinarily difficult. And then on top of that, government is thinking hard about where to make strategic investments. And so that's our public sector funding. What we're seeing from the federal government is that they acknowledge and understand that art galleries and museums are critical strategic investments through recovery. And so they're actually trying to provide more, not less. The province we're on a wait and see. They have been rolling back their support for all levels of ministries. But our presentation next week to the city will actually address this directly, which is how can the city make a strategic investment about community recovery, where the important thing in community recovery is community. And so investing in agencies that work directly with community that have the kind of economic outputs as an art museum is just going to be smart. So.
Okay, right on. Dylan, Council President.
Great. Thanks, Jeff, for coming in. The art gallery is on my brag list. Whenever I get to talk about Grande Prairie, I've got my 2-sentence thing, and one of them is one of the biggest free admission art galleries in Western Canada is the soundbite I give a lot when I'm talking to people outside of here. So I appreciate the work you do. I'm just curious, what's the climate like for professional artists coming out of COVID? Is that going to be an industry that you think it's going to be easier or harder to make a living in the next little while?
Yeah, that's a great question. The statistics would tell you nationally that the sector that was the greatest, had the most impact was art and culture. It actually wasn't food service. It wasn't manufacturing. It wasn't retail. The stats would say that artists and cultural workers saw a 38% drop of employment. That's more than 1 in 3 people that worked in art and culture found themselves unemployed. I mean, it was absolutely decimating. And so the recovery through, this is why the province of BC just enacted a multi-million-dollar recovery fund for their cultural industries. Manitoba did the same. Many provinces are following the federal government's lead on this and reinvesting in art and culture because it's been absolutely catastrophic. So we take that seriously as an institution. It's why I highlighted a few times through my presentation that we reinvested in our community as much as we could. By commissioning artists, by paying people. We still put in exhibitions. So we have what we're calling lost shows. We have exhibitions at the gallery today, and the public may never see them because we're closed. But we can't predict when we'll open, and we believe in the principle of supporting artists and doing this work. So, it's been super, super tough for the sector, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thanks, Jeff. I'll close with just saying thanks for coming in again. The one study had about 65% of skilled workers would look at it coming to a community. I think that's only going to go up over time. I think that's something we got to be conscious of. I think that number could be much higher 5 or 10 years down the road. But thanks for the presentation again, and look forward to having this conversation.
You're welcome. I'll sort of end off of, if I can, sorry, I'm taking up so much time. To your point, Councillor Pilat, there are three main pillars in the city's 25-year economic development study, and one of them is actually investing in community cultural organizations like us. So there is this big economic opportunity for attracting talent that we want to talk about. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next item on our agenda. We'll move into our reports, so our Director's Service Area reports. So look to Director Miller, please.
All right. Thanks, Chair Platt, and good morning, committee members. So I'll start off with CKC. So recently, the Eastling Center Aquatics team hosted Firefighter Recruitment. So that was working with the fire department, and they provide access to the pool for the swim portion of the assessment period for new firefighters. And then they also had the ladder truck in the parking lot. So they did a swim first, and then they had to run up the ladder truck to see who's worthy of being a firefighter for our city. And then also I just wanted to make you aware that on May 7th, Eastling Center was recognized as a winner of the Youth Friendly Business Award at the virtual GP Youth Engagement Awards. So it just shows our ongoing commitment that our Eastling Center team has. And part of that is they have to show value as youth as a client, which they certainly do, and also treat them as an equal client to adult clients. And then with events and entertainment, the ice has been removed from the Dave Bar Community Center and Rev Place as well. So now we're just going through the plant shutdown process and then arranging for the seasonal maintenance, which is done by the Facilities Department. And then the Grande Prairie Storm wrapped up their 2020-2021 season this past weekend. And construction on the new board system at Rev Place begins this week, and it should be done by August of the summer. And that'll be really a good feature. It's a lot easier for our staff to remove the boards when they have to do so. A lot less weight as well. And then if you're driving by Rev Place, you'll probably see that we're removing the Pinnacle base. And that's from the Canada Games statue. And pieces have been saved. It was deteriorating, but we saved some pieces. And then down the road, we'll have a display inside the facility. And that'll also give us 6 additional parking stalls on the east end of the building. And then with the immunization site, today I think is when they're accepting 12 years and older. And to date, it's been running really smoothly. So kudos to our staff as well as AHS for the collaboration there. With facilities, they're doing the preparation for the seasonal sites, which is the irrigation systems, sandy dumps, and spray parks as well. I know they're currently filling the outdoor pool. And then the RFP has been issued for the animal shelter expansion and renovation project. That's been on the books for a couple of years, so it's good to see it finally moving forward. With fleet, some little bit of bad news again. We've been waiting for these 8 cutaway buses for months now. And they were delayed once again, but hopefully this week we should receive the first 2. And those will be used in our transit department just to smaller bus, less fuel, and it fits more with our capacity these days as well. With sports development, wellness, and culture, the Heritage Village is scheduled to open on May 15th, and they'll have guided tours for household bookings. The raised garden beds have been installed at the Forbes Homestead. New trees and gardens will be planted in mid-May, and garden programs will begin in the early summer. And then also, in response to the additional health measures recently put in place, programming has successfully revised their educational programs that they're delivered online by teachers with home classes. And then a new program, I believe, it's Pets of Muskosipi has begun. It's an opportunity to bring your pet to the Ernie Radbourne Pavilion. You can have your photo taken in a photo booth, and it's showcased in the pavilion for the month of May. So it'll be kind of neat for families to do that. And then just an update on transit. The transit route redesign public engagement was due to be released yesterday. And then our ridership, we're sitting at about 48% on conventional buses and 27% for accessible transit. So the numbers are still low. But hopefully down the road we get our clients back on the buses as well. And that's my report, Mr. Chair, unless there's any questions.
Sorry, was I paused there?
Yeah, you were paused. I think
for school today there, and I feel like I was glitching there. So my apologies for that. Any questions for Director Miller? Councilor Minhas?
Thank you, Wade. I wonder are we getting any electrical bus? I thought we got some, not clear, like any grant we got from the government to get electrical buses during the new fleet?
Yeah, through the chair, yes, we have a total of 5 electric buses now. We had, the initial order was 2, and then we received 3 subsequently. So they're all on the road.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Clayton?
Thanks for the report, Director Miller. I'm curious, and if you would prefer a motion, that's fine, but when will council expect to see an update on the other projects that were approved at Revolution Place for this year? I'm thinking about a concession update, the backloading bay area, those sort of projects that were approved. I'm just curious when we'll hear more about an update on them.
Okay. Through the chair, thanks, Mayor Clayton. So on the concessions, we're just in the design stage right now, working with, I think it's Field and Levers is the company that was awarded the contract. And Ms. Ridgway is very pleased with how it's progressing along, dealing with facilities as well. With the loading dock, there's going to be further discussion on that one with CLT. Just the design doesn't seem to be, it's not feasible probably. It was previously designed by a different company, and that the construction company that thought it was feasible is no longer in business as well. So that one I'll provide an update in 2 weeks at committee, if that's okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Plot. If someone else has questions, go ahead. I have another one, a different topic.
Okay, we'll come back to you in a minute then, Councilor Bressie.
Great, thank you. Just a question about the Recreation/Activity Center. I know I've had a lot of curiosity in the community of people just asking, hey, what's it actually going to look like? I'm wondering if there's any sketches or designs that we could show people, just a basic picture of what the outside's going to look like approximately. A lot of people are curious about that.
Okay, through the chair, we did have what it was planned to look like, and I think Stephanie is on the line here, but what we could do is perhaps put some photos on our website as conceptually this is what it's anticipated to look like. I know they're in the process of tying the rebar this week, and still on track for May 24th for the walls to arrive, and then within a week the walls should be going up. So May 31st is the date that the walls should start being erected.
Ms. Cudgley, did you have more to add on that too? Or?
Thank you, through the chair. So one of the provisions for the funding agreement for this project is that advertising can't actually take place until the project has been announced by the federal government. So we're just in the process of waiting for that formal piece to happen, and then we already have a plan to promote some information on social media and also on our city website.
Thanks for that. I'm just going to go back to Mayor Clayton, and then we'll go to Councilor O'Toole.
Thanks for that. On a different topic, Director Miller, could you tell me, do you know off the top of your head, with the expanded age group that is allowed to get vaccinations, did we receive more vaccinations? Or how are we doing on our supply? Do you happen to know that?
Through the chair. It changes daily. Every couple of days, Ms. Ridgway gives me an update, and it fluctuates anywhere from about 350 to 700 per day. I can, during the meeting here, once with Stephanie doing her report, I'll try to get an update by the time I do an update on oil and provide that to you. I know Director Glavin was telling me this morning that he went online to book his appointment, and initially when he signed on, there was 3,800 people waiting to sign on. By the end of his time signing or registering, he said it was over 100,000 people waiting in the queue to get their appointment. So it's really encouraging to see that folks are signing up, and I assume that's an indication that the vaccines are available throughout the province. But I'll see what I can provide for an update.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
I think I'll jump in here on Councillor Houston on that one as well. Would we have an idea of how many are being vaccinated outside of the city, like through the different local agencies that are distributing it all?
Yeah.
Through the chair, no, we're not provided with that information. But,
thank you. Councillor O'Toole, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that I was down at the new recreational reception center, and the crews are busy. They're working on the foundation right now, and like Mr. Miller said, I'm anticipating the day that they start putting the walls up, so which doesn't look like it's going to be that long a time.
Okay, thanks for Councillor O'Toole. Any other questions for Director Miller? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have a grant recommendation, and I'll just open it up to Ms. Cudgley again on that, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In April, a delegation from the Grande Prairie Intercultural Association attended Council requesting support for their GPIA programs, and Council directed administration to consider a funding source for this request. So in collaboration with GPIA, we know that their agency strives to create an equitable and welcoming community, recognizing and openly celebrating cultural diversity. So funds that they have requested will support their organization to offer programs and workshops that focus on immigration, multiculturalism, workplace and school diversity, and building and sustaining a vibrant community. And included in that is their Popular Integration Academy. The Arts Development Fund was established as a legacy of the 1995 Canada Winter Games, which prioritizes culture and arts, artists and instructors. This fund also includes an operational and performance group stream that is designed to provide financial assistance to organizations to provide innovative and creative community projects that provide an overall benefit to the community and help build community connections. The annual budget for this funding stream is $15,000, and currently 1/3 of this fund remains unallocated for this current budget year. So that being said, administration recommends that committee and council approve $5,000 in arts development operational funding for the Grande Prairie Intercultural Association. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cudgley. Any questions? Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Ms. Cudgley. Is this arts development funding usually controlled or recommended on funding sources by the Community Enhancement Committee, or is this usually a straight to council funding source?
Thank you, through the chair. The recommendations are typically discussed with the Community Advisory Committee and then brought forward to committee.
And how often does that committee meet, and when's their next meeting?
The chair, thank you, Councillor Bressie. The next meeting of that committee is not until June. So administration's intent certainly would be to share our recommendation with them and advise if council or committee does approve this recommendation, we would certainly inform them of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks. Seeing none, would anybody be willing to make a motion? I think it's only, Councillor Bressie.
Yeah, thank you. I'm actually going to try a motion that's not recommended and see if I can get committee support. And that is that committee refer this to the next meeting of the Community Enhancement Advisory Committee. And to speak to that, I know that does delay this process, and I know that does mean that this group won't get funding as quickly as we could otherwise. And I do support it getting funding, but I think we've done work to enable and empower boards and committees. And I think just like a while ago when we were looking at economic recovery grants, we said, no, the Economic Recovery Committee should get to weigh in on this. And then, and much to our surprise, it actually had some thoughts on a grant that hadn't occurred to us, or it had a different take on things. And I think we had good conversation. We ultimately made a better conversation because we referred a matter, it was the Mascot Medical Clinic, to the Economic Recovery Committee. I think similarly, this should go to the Community Advisory Committee. I think that I support it, but I also really support us enabling the board's committees we've done, and I think short-circuiting that committee doesn't serve our overall strategic aims of what we're trying to do.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. I appreciate the statement. I feel it was good to go through that process. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Plott. Question for Ms. Cajolet or Director Miller. Can you remind me from the community group what's left in their money for this year?
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Through the chair, for this particular stream of funding, the annual budget is $15,000, and there is $5,000 remaining that's not been allocated.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Cajolet, can you just give me, I guess, to want to support Councillor Bressie's motion, I would also want to know, if this didn't happen for funding for them for 30 days, are we putting them in any issues from what you could hear? Are they not going to be able to pay people and move on as an organization, I guess?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I anticipate that this may just change the schedule for some of their current workshops and things that they have planned, but I don't anticipate that it would be a significant detriment to the organization.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other, Mayor Clayton?
Thanks, Chair Plott. Just another question from Ms. Cajolet. Can you tell me, was there another funding stream considered besides the Arts Development operational funding?
Thank you, the Chair. Administration has recommended this particular stream of funding as it is thought to be the most appropriate. However, another option has not been considered. We can certainly look at that if that would be Council's preference.
Okay. And if possible, could we have the motion? Is it, I see it, never mind. Thank you.
Okay, any other conversation? No. Then we'll go and please vote on the motion. Okay, that looks like it's carried. All right. Thanks for that. Thanks, Ms. Cajolet. So we'll move on, I guess, down to our outstanding items list, and Director Miller's back.
All right. Thanks, Chair Platt. So just an update for Mayor Clayton's question. I spoke with Ms. Ridgway, and she said the vaccinations are fluctuating between 480 to 520 per day during the week, and on the weekends it's about 300. And indications are there is no additional vaccine being sent when they reduce the age. So if that changes, I'll provide an update to Council.
Thank you.
And then we're going to the oil. Item 1129, it's the regional handy bus working with the other municipalities. So that stays the same, reporting back mid-September. The STARS funding request motion from Councillor Palat. Our intentions there, due to the tight timeline, is just to bring it forward when we, on June 9th, to the CCW when we go through all the community group funding requests. And then with Ms. Cajolet's presentation just a few moments ago, if committee's okay with it, with it now going to the Community Advisory Committee, then there's an automatic report back to committee with the results there. So if this one could be removed, we feel that we did make or provide the report today to the appropriate standing committee, and then in the future, automatically we have to bring it forward. So there shouldn't be any need for another motion or to keep this item. And then on the Events Center, the $200,000 business case, we're still waiting to resolve that one, hopefully within a month or so. So that's the update.
Thanks, Director Miller. Any questions regarding the outstanding items list? Okay. Seeing none, we'll just look for a motion. Councillor Bressie?
Sure, yeah, I move that we accept as amended.
All right, thanks for that. And let's go ahead and please vote. All right, and that passes unanimously. That closes off our portion of the meeting. I think there'll be a quick pause. And sorry, I don't have who's up next. Is it infrastructure?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, that's me. So we'll take a 5-minute break. Hey, Chris.